It really is simple. Just pick who you want and then pull them. At the end of the day, this is a game about collecting characters we like and characters we vibe with. All characters in this game, 4 stars, standard 5 stars, everyone. They're all viable with the correct team build setup behind them. So, if you're dedicated enough, I'm just gonna straight up tell you that you can make any character in the game work. Just go search up Arlen Zero Cycle and you'll see what I mean. Where if you're not aware, it's basically using these characters as the main carry to clear the hardest content in the game, a Memory of Chaos 12, before a whole cycle even ticks by. So seriously, with enough love and time and investment, you can literally make any character work. And I want you to be reassured, for you to hopefully know this straight off the bat, just pull anyone you like. But with that said, objectively, it takes different amounts of resources to get different characters up and running. Stronger characters naturally will have an easier time because you don't require as much resources to get them up and running as, for example, weaker ones. With that said, the game really is as complicated as you want it to be. And as a complicated individual myself, I feel like I have the capacity to talk you through it all. The game is complicated because we are complicated. And hey, maybe that's just like life sometimes. Because at the end of the day, I kind of touched on this in the how to fix your account video, but there are two sides of the game, right? In that video, I sort of put it as there's the fun side where it's subjective and you work on like personal goals and everything for fun. And then there's like the beating the game side where you want to play the game and you want to win. And for this video, it's kind of the same. There is the characters you like side, so the aesthetic side, I guess I would put it, like their voice, their look, their personality, the aesthetic side. And then there is the game side, which you can not escape because this is a game. And if you can escape it, and if you can have pure 100% fun, not caring at all about the mechanics, and just pulling your waifu, not even necessarily building them, yo, Giga Chad, I respect you. Yo, keep doing that. Like, also please teach me. I don't know how. So it's a spectrum. It really is a spectrum. And I think before we start, pause the video right now if you want. You know, I won't tell you what to do. But pause the video and maybe give yourself some time to think, or maybe after the video, think what place on the spectrum you are. How much do you actually care about the waifus as opposed to how much do you care about the game? And this can be tricky because they can come hand in hand. Because usually, a lot of the times, the strongest characters in the game are the most popular because I think Hoyoverse wants to give players as little friction as possible to pull for strong characters that they want to push. For example, Runmei and Jingliu are widely popular. Even without their power, I think there will still be widely popular character designs and character archetypes. So a lot of the time, your favorite character is actually meta. So it can be kind of hard to tell if you're pulling the character for the character is cool and you like their personality, or because the character is a meta unit. Personally, I would be lying to say that I would like Jingliu more if she hit like wet noodles. She had half her damage right now. I don't think I would love her as much as I do. It's okay, I'm not exposing myself like, oh, this guy is a meta slave, he only cares about the numbers. I think it is very valid to be somewhere on the spectrum. Let's just call it the waifu to meta spectrum, right? For ease of use, if I'm going to bring it up again in the future. Or you could say emotional to logical, but waifu to meta sounds more catchy. Okay, so we'll go over a few mindsets to hopefully help you depending on where you are on the spectrum. Let's start off with the obvious. Oh my god, they are the reason I even downloaded the game to begin with. I saw them on an ad and I looked at those eyes and you were like, oh my god, she will save my life. She will change my whole existence and I need this character right now. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to stay up till 10 a.m. and I'm going to grind out everything for this character and I'm going to try to get him as soon as possible. If they're the reason you downloaded this game, I mean, like, don't pull for them, obviously. Jokes aside, pull for them, right? Don't let any YouTuber tell you what to do or not do. It is your game. And honestly, the aim with all of these videos for me is not so much to tell you what to do. If you're seeing a pattern, if you have seen my previous videos, it's more to equip you with the knowledge to make decisions on your own. Because I feel like that's the end game. Like if I can give you enough knowledge or maybe like communicate effectively my mindset to where you can like confidently make decisions on your own in this game because you know what you want, you know what makes you happy, and you know what your goals are, that's perfect. Honestly, that that's the dream for me. That's the dream. Pull them if they're your favorite. Like I said earlier, any character in this game can work, and there is no such thing as a mistake, a bad pull. Oh my god, don't do this. This will ruin your account. There's no such thing, okay? Spoilers, there's no such thing as ruining your account. It is a figment of the human imagination because it gets a lot of clicks, okay? So I'm just saying. You can't ruin your account unless you literally delete it. Now moving on to further down the scale. Oh my god, I like both characters equally. So right now we have this thing with rerun banners where there are two characters at the same time being featured. As you can see here right now, it's Sparkle and Jingliu, who incidentally work really well together as well. They have amazing synergy. So yeah, essentially there are two characters. And if you consider the next banner that's about to come very soon, then we have Acheron and also we have Luocha, which makes it like 4 characters. Like who do you pull for, right? If you join on this very day. Well, in my professional advice as a gacha player who has played these games for a very long time and has spent countless hours researching guides and research and even did some math myself, at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to flip a coin. Okay, I mean, this isn't really giving you a solution, but like if you like both equally, don't like both equally, just pick one. Pick one! Or spend money, or maybe if enough saved up, then get both. But if you only can pick one out of the two, flip a coin or spend money. Seriously. I'm not suggesting spending money, by the way. I am not going to spend more on Jade packs anymore. I buy the Battle Pass and the Express Pass, and that's enough for me. And you don't even need that. You don't even need that for yourself. But I can afford it, and I think it's worth for me, so I do it. Isn't it nice to have favorites? I don't know about you, but I like having favorites. I think it's so cool, personally, and that's why I did it, that Jingliu is like my only limited 5-star DPS on my account. And my other characters, I just dare to boost her up. I kind of feel like I'm cheating on Jingliu when I pull Acheron soon. Yeah, so it's nice to have favorites, no? Unless you're into like harems and that kind of thing, which in that case, like SMH my head, dude. SMH my head. I'm kidding, just do what you want. But coins are useful. Or you could just let the game decide for you. There is 50-50 for a reason. Maybe that 50-50 is for you to decide if to get a character or not. By not letting you decide, by deciding for you. But if you can't decide to begin with, isn't it a nice thing that they decide for you? Yeah, feel free to pull. If you don't get them, then maybe you get the next banner character or get the other character. But the downside of that obviously is that now you have like limited funds, and if in the next patch another character comes that you want, you might not necessarily be able to guarantee them. And now we move on from, okay, I like both characters. I'm mainly still pulling because I like them, but I don't know which one. To now, I like them, but I also want to be smart with my pulls. Eventually, I want to beat the game. I want to be able to clear all the content possible. And I not necessarily want to do it one day, but I kind of want to do it relatively quickly. Maybe I want all the juicy Jade rewards in Forgotten Hall and Pure Fiction and Memory of Chaos. Although it's something you definitely don't have to chase. Or you just like the satisfaction of beating the game, which is totally fine and normal, and I think that's what most people want. Okay, this one is a bit more tricky. We first have to establish how much you like the character. So remember earlier on when I was talking about knowing where you are on the meta to waifu scale? The reason is for this, because you have to decide, okay, how much am I willing to pull a character if they're not the best for my account, right? For example, or how much am I willing to pull a character that I don't like because they're good for my account? Like, where do you sit on that? What ratio? Like, how much do you have to like a character for them to be worth you pulling them even though you know they are bad for you? Although you can definitely still make them work. I'm talking about short term. For example, maybe you want Acheron, but you don't have any resources saved up to build Pella, you don't have any Nihility units built, you have no Jade to get Acheron's light cone at all, you don't have a single good night sleep well. Like, how much do you have to like Acheron to justify you pulling her? You need to know that yourself. Because there's no right or wrong answer, right? At the end of the day, if you love her, she's the reason you play, you love Raiden Mei, easy, right? But it's that gray area. Now I'd like to tell you a story. Wow, very cool. About me and how I played when I started the game. So if you don't know, I think I started off in an interesting spot because I skipped the entire 1.0 banners. Not in, I didn't play the update. I did, and I still cleared, I believe like 3 stars of Memory of Chaos in the first update itself, with no Jingwen and Zila. And it's not like I was willing as well. Although granted, with Zila or Jingwen, I could definitely clear much more stars. However, I did skip those 2 banners, even though I'm someone who cares about clearing the hard content, even though I'm someone who wants to win, but I also care about the characters I own. I care about the aesthetics of the character and looking at the character. Personally, I know I don't mention Zila a lot in my previous videos, and that's because, hot take, everyone has their own preferences, I guess. I'm not a big fan of Zila. No hate, nothing against her. It just personally, I feel like it's kind of weird to wear a swimsuit in a game where you can't even swim, or even jump for that matter, right? So it was an easy skip. And for Jingwen, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate saying this, but like seriously, this is my opinion, this is me. You know what, feel free to cancel me. Sure, cancel me. I think Jingwen looks a bit goofy, just a bit, to me. People disagree with me a lot when I say Jingwen looks goofy, when Dan Heng looks goofy in-game, their in-game models look goofy. I love their splash art, I love them in their trailers, but their in-game models, something about those eyes just look goofy. You know what, I feel like all the characters' eyes are dead in this game. Small tangent. All the characters' eyes are dead, just to different levels, okay? Like even Bronya, like she's staring into the void or something, right? But I don't feel like it's as bad with her. I don't know, something about the face proportions. Luocha is not as bad as well because I feel like he's low-key dead inside. Like him carrying a whole coffin around and all this mysterious stuff about him, I feel like he's basically dead inside or he's hiding something. So I think that goes with his theme, that goes with his style. However, when I see dead inside eyes on like Jingwen and Dan Heng and Bibitter Lune, it doesn't go with their character. It's kind of like it's too ominous and it feels too dead. They're supposed to be like these good guys, you know. Maybe that's why I like Jingliu, because like you just don't see her eyes. You can't have dead eyes if you don't see her eyes. And when we do see her eyes, they're just like a really beautiful red. And at the same time, she's also like technically dying and she's crazy and stuff. So I think that works out. Yeah, anyway, that was a tangent. What was I saying? I skipped Jingwen and Zila to pull Silverwolf and Luocha. Silverwolf, I can explain. Very easy because I like her design. I think she was cool. I kind of like her nonchalant attitude, gamer girl, hashtag relatable, all that kind of stuff. She was cute, and I find that, you know, as someone who started off the game without pulling the other limited DPSs, it was very valuable to be able to implant weaknesses onto the enemy because I get so much value out of that with the limited characters I did have and my limited DPSs that weren't necessarily the strongest. So it was a really nice boost to them, on top of the fact that I liked her as well. I would say at the end of the day, I pulled like 50% because I liked the character and then 50% for the utility she provided. Whereas if I did pull Zila, it would be like 25% because I like her character and then 75% of the utility I provided, but I wasn't willing to pull a character that only cared like 25% about. Same with Jingwen, right? As for Luocha, I think for him, I pulled 65% because of utility. Because at the early game, if you played back then, you know that if you don't pull Bailu, if you don't pull Japart, you essentially have only one healer. You don't have a free Lynx. Lynx wasn't out in the game yet. You only have Natasha. Okay, I'm gonna try to not do a middle finger, but you only have Natasha to sustain you with as a abundance character. And I wasn't really big into using Fire, MC, and March, even though I was forced to, right? And I kind of wanted to like not use them anymore. So I wanted another healer from my other team because Natasha was solo sustaining one team already. Although it was she barely was able to do it. So I looked at Luocha and I was like, damn, you know, I was struggling with skill points at the time as well because I was playing Dan Heng and Dan Heng needs to spam his skill a lot. I was playing Welt, you know, with Dan Heng in the same team as well. Skill points were a constraint. Luocha not only is able to heal your team super well, be super tanky and basically almost immune to CC as well with his trace that gives him 70% resistance to crowd control debuffs. He also doesn't consume skill points when he heals. He has that emergency heal which came in super clutch. And at the time, some of the hardest enemies were these Mara struck generals, you know, the ones that spawn the soldiers, the ones that that when you kill them, they revive. Well, Luocha's ult has the ability to strip buffs from the enemies. So basically in MOC, you can make it so that these enemies that respawn don't respawn, effectively making them much less of a threat and much easier to kill. And also, I think he kind of looked cool. I never pulled like a long hair blonde character in these gacha games before, so I thought it was a nice change of pace. I think he looks decently mysterious enough. I do like my mysterious characters, so yeah, I pulled him, but mainly out of necessity, and I think that's fine. Okay, with that said, now let's transition into I just want what's best for my account. So maybe you still care about characters and you care if they're attractive or not, but if they don't literally look like a pile of trash, you don't mind pulling them as long as they're strong. Now we're going into that category. I just want what's best for me and my account. Actually, let me correct that. You don't necessarily need them to be strong. You just want something that will pull your account together maybe and patch up the holes that you're lacking. Maybe you have like 5 limited DPSs. You want to know like what support to pull for them. You know, what's the best option. So to tackle this whole thing, we have to unpack it. What does best for your account mean? Because we can look at this from many different ways. Sure, pulling them for combat is one thing, but I feel like something that a lot of us glance over is good for your account in the sense of Jade and power. More so power. But let's start off with Jade. I think this is where we start talking about 4 stars. Because when you pull on a banner, you aren't necessarily only pulling the 5-star. Like it or not, you're also pulling the 4 stars that come with it. And sometimes, even though people really like a 5-star, they might not pull on the banner because they absolutely hate the 4 stars over there, or they already have Eidolon 6 of all the 4 stars on the banner itself. So, with that in mind, take for example a banner that has QQ on it as a 4-star. I'm going to use my own personal experience. But early on in the game, I really lacked a strong DPS, especially a quantum DPS, because I didn't pull Zila. I was mainly playing Dan Heng and Serval as my carries. So that made Luocha's banner very, very tempting and quite good for me to pull on, because it featured Qingque, a quantum DPS that really, really benefits from my Eidolons. So, if you think about it, through pulling Luocha's banner, not only do I make my team survivability increase, but I can start collecting Qingque Eidolons, or even get Qingque E6 and then start using her as an upgrade to my other DPSs. Sure, I know that this may not be a super relatable example because Qingque is the strongest 4-star DPS right now. However, if you don't have a debuffer, a banner with Pella value goes significantly higher. If you don't have a single Tingyun and you play hyper carry comps like Jingwen or Kafka, or a lot of characters love Tingyun and she's not a bad unit to have, any banner with her, the value of it just goes up because of that. So when considering what's best for you Jade-wise, just keep this in mind. If you pull on, for example, like me, the Luocha banner, you would have a less need to get another main DPS if you were lacking one again in the future and have to pull on that limited 5-star banner just for DPS, when you can pull for a DPS and a support on a single banner. Granted, Qingque might not be as strong as Jingliu, for example. However, I still, to this day, run Qingque in my other MOC team because Jingliu is definitely a given every single time, even off element. However, there's still use of my Qingque. Sometimes I bring her in, sometimes I bring Clara in, you know. There is still value in that. However, if you have a lot of main DPSs already, then the value of that goes down. Maybe you would like a 4-star support and you would benefit that banner more. So that's where research comes into play. You kind of need to know the synergies or like what you need in your account, which we will talk a bit more down the line. Finding that balance, seeing what you need in your account. We'll talk about that later on. So what's best for your account power-wise? I think this is less rated because it's not like a shiny resource and it just keeps replenishing without you having to do anything, and it's not really a resource that can get you new characters, which is kind of like the main appeal of this game. However, Jade is like the lifeblood of your characters. If your characters are cars, okay, I'm going to use the car analogy again. If your characters are like cars, power is literally like the fuel. Is that why they call it fuel? Yeah, like the fuel of your car, the petrol, the diesel, the whatever you use to run your car. You need to juice your cars up. You need to juice your characters up. And how much you want to juice them up is up to you. But if you're someone like me who wants them the juiciest possible, then you want to pull power efficiently. And this has to do with knowing what you're farming right now. And that's why having a goal is really helpful in knowing your direction and what you're focusing on. I covered that in the how to fix your account video I made in the past. So for example, I've been farming really hard for Doctor Ratio in the Pioneer of Dead Waters Cavern, and I just casually have a second set lying around because maybe my Doctor Ratio has my best pieces, but then I actually still have other usable pieces that I'm just keeping around. That makes it so that when I pull Acheron, I don't really have to farm for her anymore. I can just slap that set on her, and if I want to, I can call it a day. If you want to look one layer deeper, if you play Doctor Ratio, you probably have Pella built, you might have Welt built, you might have other debuffing units, because Doctor Ratio relies on enemies being debuffed for him to consistently trigger his follow-up attacks. Well, Acheron loves debuffers to function. So if you have a bunch of Nihility characters built and you have a spare Pioneer of Dead Water set lying around, pulling Acheron and actually using her may just be as simple as getting her, leveling her traces, slapping her light cone on her, and you're good to go. You literally just slot in your Nihility characters, you give her the relic set that you just have for her already. It's pretty simple. However, if you're someone who doesn't really play Nihility units, maybe you've built all your Harmony units, you mainly play other hyper carries, you don't even have Doctor Ratio, you didn't even farm the new relic domain because it wasn't efficient for you. Maybe you're a mono quantum player. Think about that now, right? How would your experience be different from the other person I just mentioned that is more of a Nihility player and is someone who has been farming that cavern? Now, on top of having to farm her traces, her ascension, and her light cone, all those materials, you would also need to farm the ascension, traces, light cone for your Nihility units, maybe more than one, and you would need to farm relics for them as well, every single character there, which basically turns the work of building 0.5 characters, because you don't even need to farm relics in the first scenario, to having to build like potentially 4 brand new characters if you count the sustain as well. That's potentially 4 characters. The difference from building 0.5 characters to building 4 characters is pretty big. If my days in school doesn't fail me, it is 8 times bigger. If you opt in to pull for Acheron when you don't have any Nihility units or any relics from that cavern farmed. Not saying you can't. Once again, I know people get defensive when it is somewhat even suggested that pulling Acheron might not be a good idea in any reality. I'm not even saying it's a bad idea. So just know, pull who you want. I'm just here so that you can make informed decisions, because at the end of the day, when you spend Jade, what you're essentially spending is either your real life money, if you top up, or your time. And I think it is worthwhile to just sit there for a moment and kind of spend some time to consider what you want to do with your account or what you enjoy. Because spending that bit of time right now might actually save you a lot of time in the future when you have to refarm the Jade that you spend on a character that you're not fully committed to investing into. Also, before we move on, there's a conversation of long-term or short-term. And I mean, what is good for your account long-term and short-term are very different. And this is really down to the time frame of how long and how short you're thinking. Because if you want to play long term, if you want to be as future-proof as possible, if you want to make the best decisions, this has probably been said in other videos, but the most efficient way to conduct your life right now is to don't pull on anyone's banner, clear as much as you can with the units you have right now. It doesn't even matter if you don't 36-star MOC, because at the end of the day, those Jade don't really matter. Just save, or just pull enough so you can 36-star MOC and then start saving, because in the future, the longer the game goes, the stronger the characters will be. Like, there's just natural incremental slower power creeps happening. It's just a fact the boss HP in floor 12 just keeps going up and up and up. Compare the hardest difficulty MOC boss in 1.0 to right now, and you'll see what I mean. To combat this, characters are just incrementally getting stronger as well. So the best play, if you want to get the best character, best value, the best thing for your account, if you are thinking long term, is to not pull anything right now, and then wait for the future. And then when that strongest character comes out, ideally at the last patch of this game, before this game ends, okay? Because that's when the strongest character in theory will be released. Or around that time, doesn't have to be the last patch, but around that time, they'll release the strongest DPS the game will ever see, because the game's literally going to shut down. pull their E6 S5, okay? That's the best way to play because then you have the strongest character. No, yeah, okay, that's a meme. That's a meme. But essentially, it's that, right? Like, how long term you're gonna talk about. Going back to my Silverwolf and Luocha thing, I was playing a bit long term. I knew I would play at least to 2.0, so I just wanted to have some supports first and then pull a DPS I really liked because I didn't need the explosive power right then and there. If I was only looking at it for a short-term kind of thing. Like, I'm not really sure about this game. If I didn't really know about gacha games, this is my first gacha game. I wanted to get a feel of it. I'm not even sure if I'll be playing next week, okay? I would just spend all my Jade on the Zila banner when the game first comes out. And I think that's why Zila banner has so much sales, because I think a lot of people did that because they don't even know if they're going to play next month. And yeah, they were much stronger than me at the time. They did what's best for their account because any Jade, okay, sitting in your bank is power lost in your account. Does that make sense? Like, the higher your Jade number, the more the amount of strength in your account you're missing out on. And it's kind of like investing, you know, you're kind of like holding, and then you dump it, you know, holding, hold, dump it into like good investments, because that's what they are. Characters are investments. I held, and so I'm able to get a E1 S1 Jingliu when she first released, and I was super strong, right? Like, and over time, the strength of E1 S1 Jingliu like slowly decreases. Not because she gets weaker, they can't nerf characters, but because enemies are getting stronger. It really is like buying a car. The value of it diminishes over time. Oh my god. The car analogy is perfect, huh? Essentially what I'm saying is that for short-term gain, the best thing is to spend all your Jade right now. So if you're a gambling addict and you can't, for the life of you, save Jade, then I guess this is your justification. What you're doing is correct. Just keep spending Jade and you're fine. And like, technically, you're getting the most value out of your account, because the moment you're able to have value, you like immediately spend it. So yeah, maybe, but like, definitely do save, because it's easier to form a coherent account and have your characters work together and be able to like snipe banners and stuff like that, like with all the 4-star kind of thing we're talking about, if you kind of save and plan ahead a bit. Okay, like, seriously, all this talk, I don't care. Okay, like, bro, just tell me who to pull. I'm like a new player, or I just want answers. I don't come to YouTube to like look at this guy ramble. Like, I want to know how to make my account better right now. Okay, sure. No, I'll try. I'm sorry, I'll try. But it takes some work on your end as well, because I think for this, you have to look at your 4-stars. If you are a newer player and someone who's just starting out, which is the time where I assume you want direction the most, look at your 4-stars. And if you're an older player who has a bunch of 5-stars already, look at your 5-stars too. Because, okay, new analogy time, card analogy, okay? Because playing these characters, forming a team, like knowing who to pull for next, like knowing what you want, is akin to having a hand of cards and then knowing what card will be perfect for you. You know how like when you play cards like poker, blackjack, whatever, to get the best outcomes, you first look at your hand. Why? Okay, I think this is very overlooked, and you're like, why is this guy talking about you have to look at your hand? Of course you have to look at your hand. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that in this game, because it's essentially the same thing. You have to look at your hand, see what you have right now to know what you want down the line. If you are a person with Pella build, you got Welt, he's really built, maybe he's been your carry for a while, and you have Fire MC, you have Trend of the Universal Market. I wonder who is a good unit to pull, especially if you like hot anime girls with purple hair and a long katana. Acheron, right? Acheron. So if you pull Acheron, and all these characters are built, all you have to do is build Acheron. It is super power efficient for you. Or even if you don't have any of these characters built, you just have Welt, you have Pella, you have maybe the Resolution Shines Light Cone, you have Fire MC with Trend of the Universal Market. Pulling Acheron will also be a very good option, because you're still spending Jade, but you also need to use power, and that's fine. But just be aware that you have the option. As compared to if you don't have these characters at all, it might make Jingliu a better option, especially if you have Bronya built and you have Run Mei, who you aren't using as much, which is not really a thing. But like, let's say you don't have Run Mei on your other team all the time, you know, it could be a good choice to pull Jingliu. Okay, but maybe you're like, okay, that's just another weird answer. I want strong characters. I don't care any of this, like what's best for my accounting. Okay, then I'm sorry to break it to you. This answer might be cringe as well, but there's no such thing as a strong character without like context, because context is what makes a character strong. Like the best characters are good in their best teams, if that makes sense. Like for example, if you want to compare like DPS between an Acheron and a Jingliu team. I know I keep using these two comparisons, but you know, they are units that are most talked about right now. So it will only be fair, right, if you put Jingliu in her best team and Acheron in her best team. But for example, if you use Jingliu in a team without Bronya, which is her best support, and you then compare her to Acheron in her best team, and then look at like who does better DPS and then who is the stronger character overall, then it's, you know, Acheron. So the best characters are only good in their best teams. Remember that, okay? Don't let anyone tell you a character is the best in the game without also telling you what conditions they need to meet to be the best in the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Acheron with a free-to-play light cone in a team that doesn't have debuffers is not stronger than Jingliu in a team with Bronya, and if Jingliu has a signature light cone as well. You can cope as much as you want. I'm sorry, Jingliu is just stronger, and I know that Acheron hasn't released yet, so who knows, maybe Acheron with Fermata in a team that consists of all Harmony units is stronger than Jingliu in her best team with her signature light cone. You know what? When that time comes, this game is broken and we should never pull, because the power creep will be so crazy when 3.0 hits that it will make Acheron look like a little insect right now. Okay, so the strongest characters are only strong in their strongest teams. Keep that in mind. So look at your hand. Look what cards you have. Look at what team you can make to facilitate the strongest characters the best, because it's up to you to make the strongest characters the strongest. And once again, any character can be strong. Any character has their best team. The heights of their best team will be different from character to character, but each character's best team can clear every single content in this game. Also, I want to say that if, for example, you're watching this after Acheron banner ended and you really want an Acheron right now, and Acheron will make the most sense for your account because you have all the Nihility units built and stuff like that, I would say that instead of like just waiting for a rerun and not pulling, and you trying to just save for her rerun the whole time, you could also consider getting supports, like different Nihility units as they release new 5-star ones that I'm sure they're going to do to kind of prepare for her as well, or even get sustain units for your current characters to make your life easier. You're not going to pull a main DPS maybe, like I did. Like I didn't pull until Jingliu, but you can always just pull supports to make your current life easier, and also when you get the future character, to make their life easier immediately as well. Okay, so that was like general part for most updates it will apply to. But this update, I feel like a lot of people will be joining the game fresh. A lot of people will be having a tough time deciding as well because of such popular characters. Jingliu, Acheron, Luocha, and also Aventurine. Such popular characters. 2 DPSs, 2 sustains. Who do you pull? Now this part is more specifically targeted to this update, because I'm gonna talk you through it, and you can apply this to any update as well if you're looking at this in the future. I'm sure the update will have not just sustain units or not just DPS units. There'll be a mix, and so you can kind of like take some parallels from this discussion. We've already talked about it a bit earlier, so I won't dive too deep into it. But Jingliu or Acheron, once again, do research, see what their best teams are, but also you can keep in mind what are some of their viable alternatives. If you don't have Pella, you can maybe use Guinaifen, you can use Sampo, just someone to apply DOT, because DOTs are debuffs. So the synergy with Acheron will work out. See what units you have. If you don't have the best teams for either Jingliu or Acheron, which is completely understandable if you're new to this game or you are someone who doesn't play much, just see what they have. And if you are looking at Jingliu and Acheron purely from a gameplay point of view, not so much you like one character more than the other, you would just pick the character that you have better team options for, like better alternatives for. For example, if you have Tingyun and you don't have a single Nihility unit, maybe get Jingliu, because Acheron doesn't benefit at all from Tingyun's energy buff, right? Stuff like that. And you can refer to build guide videos, because at the end they usually have a section where they talk about best teams and like free-to-play teams. I think you can refer to the free-to-play teams section and kind of see which units you have and which ones you want to build, and so to help you decide which character you should go for. Luocha or Aventurine? Okay, I'm not an Aventurine expert. Like, to be honest with you, I'm probably more knowledgeable about Acheron than Aventurine, and even then I'm not really big into theory crafting for Acheron. I just know her kit, I know what she wants, but I don't know her exact numbers or anything. So all I'll say is that Aventurine is a good option. Usually these games, they know what they're doing, and if you look at past precedents, characters will just be strong. I don't think they've released a single week limited 5-star character. They're just strong to different degrees. I think Aventurine will be strong. He's a character that really synergizes well with follow-up attacks. He looks like the premier support. And usually when they release characters like that, they're just straight up best in those scenarios. So if you're someone who's like big into Doctor Ratio and stuff like that, maybe consider Aventurine more because he sustains you plenty already. He gives you big shields, and then he also has like follow-up attacks and debuffs on enemies. So if you're someone who's going to pull Acheron and you want a debuffing support, you could also consider Aventurine for that reason. It really is up to you, but if I was a new player, knowing what I know now and how the game is going, and knowing that at some point in the end game, surviving isn't really a thing. Like, I do 0 cycles, like surviving is the least of my concern. Like, a lot of times for 0 cycles, I don't even bring in a sustain unit, right? Because you just want to kill them as fast as possible. So I think a character that offers some offensive utility, like Aventurine with his follow-up attack damage, and also his ability to debuff enemies, which is synergistic with Acheron, I would probably go for Aventurine, personally. Seeing as how like Luocha's main selling point in the past is that he didn't need to use skill points. He was very, very skill point positive. You build him on speed and he just keep basic attacking to generate skill points for you. Seeing as now that there's characters like Sparkle and Hanya, which kind of make that less necessary, I think Aventurine is probably the better pull in general. Although, once again, I'm not telling you to pull. If you like Luocha, pull Luocha. They're all strong. They're all strong. They're all strong! Just pull who you want. Pull you want. Pull you want. Pull you want. Pull you want. At the end of the day, the final thing I'll say is this. I mentioned it briefly earlier already, but I think it is worth it. Sitting down, spending some time, however much time, it's up to you, to look at your hand, see what cards you have, research, know what the future banner is, know what synergies work for your team, expand your knowledge. Because at the end of the day, if you know what to do, you don't have to watch as much guide videos, so it's better for you in the long run. And you're saving time by informing yourself of how to make better decisions with your Jade, which is essentially your time. Because logging in every day, doing events, doing all these things to get Jade is time. So do yourself a favor. Research, think about it, and everything will come together for you. You are the best person out there to help you with your own account. I hope that I could just share my mindset so that you can start really having fun with all these characters and all these things, because at the end of the day, it's a really nice experience. It's such a unique experience, which can be a bad thing because I can't directly tell you what the best thing for your account is, because there's so many of you out there and your account is ever evolving, ever changing. You know, you might not have a Bronya and then you do one standard pull on the standard banner and then you get a Bronya and then, oh my god, this literally changes everything, right? So I hope this helped. And if you want more help with this on how to set a clear goal for yourself, how to build characters, and how to stay consistent if that's what you're struggling with, feel free to check out my previous video, link in the description, or if you just go to my channel, it is the one that I teach you how to fix your account. I'm trying to make a series of these videos on like the fundamentals. So we did like the general like overview mindset thing, which people call life advice, the how to fix your account one, there's a relic one, which teaches you everything you need to know about relics from a beginner to an expert level. And then now we have this one, which is more future looking, right? Like, how do you plan ahead? How do you kind of understand what you're working with and what will be the best card for you to draw from the pile as a result? How do you win the game? I feel like you're winning as long as you're having fun, which brings us to our first point. It is simple. Pull who you want. All that matters is that you're having fun. If you can literally pull and not care about anything else and just have fun having that character, being super satisfied, I envy you so much. I hope we can all one day reach that level. With that said, that's the end of the video. I do stream on Twitch. I hope this video helped. Stay safe. Take care. Goodbye.